welcome to the birthplace of the United States of America. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is where the country began, and it's also the birthplace of the United States government, known as the Constitution. Take it all in. What a special day to be here to see this great room, where 249 years ago, the Declaration of Independence was approved, and the United States was born. And this is how we think it looked around the time of those two great events. I think this room is the most historic room in America and one of the most important rooms in the world. There were 13 colonies, so it's set up with 13 tables, representatives of the Congress. The Second Continental Congress came here the year before independence, 1775. And the president of the Congress was John Hancock of Massachusetts. Secretary sat right there. And one of the great decisions they made in this room, the Second Continental Congress, was to pick a general of the new army they just created. John Adams from Massachusetts picks a man from the South to be the new general in charge. Everyone votes for him. Who was he? Very good. George Washington leaves this room and he leads the war effort up north. They tried to make peace with the king in this room one more time, but it wasn't successful. They sent peace petitions over to London, but the king and his government ignored them. Now it's 1776, and early that year, this book was widely read, and it was a very influential book that argued that America should become independent of Great Britain. Written by Thomas Paine. Have you read it? Do you know the name of this? Oh, it says, what? Common Sense. Common Sense. Very influential book, and it turned a lot of minds toward independence. Another thing that turned people toward wanting independence is the fact that the king and his parliament were becoming more and more like tyrants. So we have men that really advocated independence in this room. John Adams was a great patriot from Massachusetts, and he was strongly in favor of independence. It became official, that is, a resolution for independence, in June of 1776 when Richard Henry Lee announces before the Congress that these united colonies ought to be United States. To go from colonies to states, he calls them free and independent states. So they had debates over independence. Adams was a prime debater in that cause. And also around that time, a decision is made to write a document to detail why we're declaring independence. And it was written largely by one man. Do you know his name? 33-year-old Virginian. This is his walking cane. He owned this walking stick. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson writes the Declaration of Independence from his apartment at 7th and Market Streets, and it's brought into this room, and independence is debated, the whole question of independence, and also the document is debated, and it's changed a bit. Well, the vote for independence is not on July 4th, but on July 2nd, 2 days before the Congress votes for independence. So why do we celebrate independence on July 4th, 2 days after the Congress votes for Richard Henry Lee's resolution? Well, it takes 2 more days for this to get into its final form. So it's ready on July 4th, and it says it up top. And on that date, in this room, 249 years ago, exactly today, July 4th, 1776, the Second Continental Congress approves this. They adopt this. And that is the official birth date of the United States of America. And this is how it looked after it was printed overnight. You can see a copy up close after the tour in the Great Essentials exhibit. Just turn right after the tour. Now, what's missing from a copy or from the original you may have seen? Yeah.
Signatures.
The signatures, right. So then, later that month, in July of 1776, decision is made to write it out on parchment paper. So it's on August 2nd, following month, August 2nd, that it's signed. The men get up from their chairs, walk up in front of John Hancock. Back there, they dip their quills in the inkstand and sign the Declaration of Independence, the one written on parchment paper. You know how revolutionary this was 249 years ago? This year is the Founding Fathers created a new country based on equality and democracy. Most countries were led by kings back then, but here we have a new country based on democracy. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, can you finish it? And the pursuit of happiness, right. Jefferson goes on to write, we can't get those rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness under the king. We need a government of the people to secure those rights. So we have to create a new country, United States of America. And the men who signed this, they pledged their lives for this great cause. What do you think would have happened to the signers if we didn't win the Revolutionary War?
They would have been executed.
They would have been executed, right. So the war was long. By the time the Congress got here, the year before independence, war had already broken out. And it kept going after independence was declared, after this first great event. And it was very difficult after they signed this. The following year, Great Britain captures this building. They capture the Patriot capital, Philadelphia. And the British soldiers sleep here. They may have burned the furniture for firewood when George Washington was nearby at Valley Forge, suffering in the cold. But eventually, with George Washington and the Army's persistence, and with France coming to our aid, America wins the Revolutionary War. Now, Congress had to decide what kind of government is needed for the United States. Well, before the war is over, in this room, the first government is adopted and signed. It's called the Articles of Confederation. But after the peace treaty in 1783, men like James Madison, brilliant American, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton, another genius, they felt that government had certain weaknesses. The government needed to be fixed. And it was weak. They had a hard time even raising money to pay for Washington's soldiers. So they call a convention to meet in this same room of independence 11 years after. That makes it 1787. And in 4 months, they perform a miracle in this room. And Washington wrote, it was nothing short of a miracle. They asked George Washington to participate. He comes back to this room. And George Washington is again unanimously elected, this time president of the convention to fix the government. He sits in that chair during the 4 months of 1787. And that's original. That chair's original, so it's a priceless object. Washington sat in that original chair with the shades drawn and the doors shut. What did they create in 4 months in 1787? Do you know? The second great event that happened in this room? The Constitution. Very good. They create a 4-page document called the Constitution. To get rid of that other government. And brilliant minds got together like Franklin, Washington, Hamilton, Madison, and they compromised and they came up with a government that has a president of the United States, a Congress of the United States, and a Supreme Court. And it starts out, here we have the second great event, the creation of a government on a large scale based on representative democracy, the people's government. It starts out with we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish this Constitution for the United States. It wasn't perfect, it still isn't, but the Founding Fathers put into the Constitution an article that says it can be amended or changed. And it's been changed, amended 27 times since this was signed. And some of those amendments go to increase the liberties of the people that Jefferson was talking about in the Declaration. The Bill of Rights came later. The amendment to abolish American slavery later, and to give women the right to vote. So Americans, through their government representatives, can still amend the Constitution today. It is still the people's government. My favorite founding father was Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's own Benjamin Franklin. He was 81 years old on the day they signed the Constitution in this room, which was September 17th, 1787. He was a very happy man that day. One of the reasons he's my favorite founding father is because he did a lot of work in this room to get the large states and the small states to agree on the Constitution. So he was very happy when the signers in front of George Washington were signing it, and he makes a famous comment about the back of George Washington's chair, which is a carving of a half sun. He says he's wondering throughout the sessions whether the sun is a rising sun or a setting sun. What do you think he decided that day? Rising sun. He was happy that they created a strong government. And maybe he thought it would last a long time, and it sure has. It's still the government of the United States today, the Constitution of the United States. So in honor of Benjamin Franklin's famous comment, we call that chair the Rising Sun Chair. This is right there on that original chair. And that's priceless. Nobody sits in that chair. Just to sum it up, the following year, enough states approved the Constitution, and the government goes into effect. You can see the Capitol of the United States before Washington, D.C. Just turn right after you go outside. It's called Congress Hall Tour. And you can also see the documents like the Declaration of Independence copy. Turn right. It's in the Great Ascension. Thank you so much for visiting Independence Hall.